Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today, I think that everybody wants an answer for everything. Today, people compulsively rip the veil away, disperse the smoke, and aspire to put an end to mystery. But I say we crusade against that. I say we should strive to stupefy people and encourage them to dream again, to believe, to have faith in things again. And you may ask, how do you accomplish something like that? And I think one way of doing it would be to become a living work of art, to be irrational, unpredictable, mythical, and awe-inspiring. Why not structure your days like a magic trick? Why not be the embodiment of a rhetorical question? The question that requires no answer, just only requires that you sit back and be amazed, just for effect. Recently, I was kind of convinced of art and magic being synonymous. You could certainly argue that art is about belief, just like magic. Making art is an attempt to convince others of your belief or your perspective, your worldview, what your world looks like, what your world feels like. Just like we convince a crowd of the illusion of a magic trick. Art can teach the observer how to see things a certain way, just like the magician redirects the audience's attention to where they want it. Art definitely manipulates the physical world into submission for the particular artist's aim. You could say the same thing for anything that a magician does. Now, the only thing is, you could argue someone who doesn't want to believe cannot be fooled. And generally, the model for this type of problem would be someone who rejects religion and magic, believers in science, fact, logic, that kind of thing. However, these people too are also we're all prone to that hope for something more than just what is right in front of us. And the more that we gravitate towards technology, towards the industrialism, equally the more our hunger for belief increases. And there's this great article that I read by Eugene Subbotsky, and it's called Ghost in the Machine. And it talks about how magic, the belief in magic, is still present in people, even though we live in a technological, industrious age. But he proves my point that whenever we gravitate more towards logic, towards reason, towards industry, you would think that that's progressing in that direction, but there's actually this silent desire for the opposite, which he calls a violation. We desire a violation. The ideas associated with science and the ideas associated with magic are conceptual opposites that condition each other. Whenever we think of physical causality, we inevitably, and usually subconsciously, imagine the possibility of its violation. And this violation, by definition, is magical causality. So even those, he argues in this essay too, that even those who side with science and rationale, through their desire to find a violation, an exception, or a further truth even in the sciences, this is a tendency towards magical causality. We want to believe in something more. We want to believe in the unbelievable. And I would say that to be a living work of art is to embody this violation that he's talking about. Maybe you don't completely convince someone of your idea or your worldview, but you can make them doubt what they know to be true. I think both things are good, healthy for people. In Subbotsky's research, belief in magic helps to enhance our cognitive abilities. It increases our proficiency at solving complex problems. It alleviates psychic stress. It replenishes glucose levels in the brain or maintains them. Unburdens us from self-regulation. It helps us literally do things better and have the energy to allot to other things and to be the embodiment of magic, to be a living work of art. I think that's a public service. So, with all that being said, how does one become a work of art? I would argue, like I said, a living work of art is a magician. And what better place for inspiration on the how to be than Christopher Nolan's film, The Prestige. The Prestige, if you've never watched it, is about two rivaling magicians in London. a terrible accident happens and they hate each other. And then they come upon Nikola Tesla's research and science. And then that adds like an entirely new dimension to magic, what's considered magic, what's science, what's not. Very good film. To recite the words from the introduction, there are 3 parts or acts to every magic trick. The first is what they call the pledge. The magician presents to you something ordinary, like a woman or a man, something normal, commonplace, something real. Then you have what is called the turn. The magician takes this ordinary thing and turns it into something extraordinary. The most common one is making something disappear. But you wouldn't clap yet because making something disappear is not enough, which is why you have the third act, the hardest part. It's called the prestige. The magician makes the impossible possible, like bringing the vanished object back from whatever space it went to. Now, my intention with structuring things in this way is not for you to focus on the act of disappearing or cutting yourself in half or setting yourself on fire, making butterflies come out of fruit, okay? It's not about that. It's the ontology of magic that interests me. Why is the magic trick so appealing? What does a magic trick say about our existence, our being? What does it say about how we perceive things? Why is that performance like reflective of us? I think the profession of a magician is something like a priest, to continue. Sorry to keep using metaphors for metaphors, but like they advocate for a higher world, for miracles, for wonder. Before we expound on these 3 acts, I need to ingrain something into your head. It's the number 1 rule of all magic, of all belief, of all art. Never ever tell anyone your secret. Leave them wondering. That is 99% of it. Is that faith? The faith in your trick, the faith in your performance, the faith in your art is held together by the fact that the person doesn't know your secret. Like I stated before, everyone today wants a fucking answer for everything. Resist the temptation to answer. You don't owe an answer to anybody, first of all, but it's also that like you're helping them out by not telling them. Okay? You're literally keeping their world intact to a certain degree. Leave them thinking about it. Let them sit and mull it over. People expose way too much about themselves. People want to be fooled. People don't want to know the secret. They shouldn't know it, on principle.
Never show anyone. They'll beg you and they'll flatter you for the secret, but as soon as you give it up, you'll be nothing to them. You understand? Nothing. The secret impresses no one. The trick you use it for is everything.
I think the world, people operate better with magic, with a secret that is not told. And maybe the world even relies on a lie or an illusion. And I truly believe that we're happier for that. We're happier as believing beings. For example, as you know, I recently had my trip to Italy. And I'm sure a lot of you thought I was going to be doing a video for that and showing you, pictures and videos of like the trip and talking about it. No, I won't be. There won't be a video because you had to be there to know, to see what we saw, to say what we said, to be in on the magic. The trip has appeal because you don't know what went on. Like you can see a picture of us, like a group picture of us on my Instagram and like little Polaroids here and there. But like to be there that one day we had that conversation, or to be out that night having that food and the smell of the air and stuff, like you just have to be there. That mystery is something that will make you want to come, to have your own version of that experience. And that's something you can't give other people. There is no shortcut. I've also just never been the person to chronicle my life. I've never been a vlogger. I've never liked this idea of like letting you in on my life. You don't need to know. And I don't need to know your business either. I don't like this incessant sharing, revealing, day in the life bullshit. Some things are for me and some things are for you. I don't think the internet needs to be in on it. And I think we are richer for the things that are kept. So that is the number 1 rule of all living your life as a work of art. There are things that people can't know. Keep the secret, maintain the magic, maintain the faith. With that being said, we start with Act 1, the pledge. The magician presents you something ordinary. You are this something that operates under the established laws of the universe. The person, you're technically a being of billions, like you are one of those people, and you exist under the laws of social operation, and your body is technically restricted to physics. The laws of our society requires that you do certain things a certain way, and the laws that govern matter require you to maintain a kind of integrity of your body, so you can live long. Do not deteriorate this body, don't do anything to ruin the body. That's the pledge. You pledge, you bring yourself forward as one of many. The turn is then when you challenge that belief. You state that something is different about you. You challenge the established belief, the established order. The Olympian athlete surpasses what is considered possible for a human being. The impressionist artist challenges what people perceive with their own eyes in their average everyday life. The writer uses language to change how you understand what a word means, with the established idea of what a definition of a word means, or how it should be used, or how a couple words in a sentence should be used to explain something. Turn is the ordinary object turned into something extraordinary. You're presenting a magical, unusual quality that surprises somebody. It makes them reestablish their relationship with this person, with this object. That's what the turn does. It does a 180. What you thought you knew, you're now wrong, or it's different. So the turn is about presenting this idea. But the thing I'm going to be talking about the most is the prestige, because we're going to take this idea and we're going to put it into action. We're going to manifest it. We're going to make it real. The prestige is the hardest part because it's about immortality. It's about closure in belief. It's about making the impossible possible, right? The key to this act is less about whether or not the magic performed is real, about whether or not the idea that people have of you is true. What matters is that every observer wants to be fooled. They want you to be the exception. They want your magic to be real. You are a provocateur, inciting people to literally act against their better judgment, so to speak. According to Subbotsky's research, even industrial societies, the belief in magic sticks around because it retreats into the subconscious. So your job is to occupy a corner of somebody's subconscious, which instills hope for miracles and puts doubt in all of their logic. The method for this, for the prestige, is persistence, devotion. To be a living work of art is to live it, to sustain what people think is not sustainable, to keep your secrets, to build labyrinths around them. To be a living work of art, you got to take your craziness seriously. You have to take your artwork seriously. Whatever persona that you want to be, that you think is ridiculous, but you just want to be it so bad, you have to do it. You have to devote it. You have to devote yourself to it every day. In Prestige, the movie, Borden observes a magician who is famous for this fishbowl act. He makes a gold fishbowl filled with water disappear weightlessly. And he figures out over careful observation over time that the man pretends to be a cripple in public so that he can walk with the goldfish bowl between his knees during his performance. So he lives his acts, even outside of the theater. Borden would then find inspiration in this, and he would do this himself and lives a double life with two different women because he has a twin. It may be an act, right? You may say oh, this is all fake, this is all illusion. But hey, the integrity lies in the dedication to making people believe. I think that's pretty admirable. Believe in something greater than themselves, to allow an idea an immortal longevity. I, like those in the audience at a magic theater, want to stay inside the trick. The final act of a magic trick is about convincing someone of belief, so much so that even if evidence comes out to debunk it, you remain with that faith as an instinct. That is what I like to call immortality, the persistent faith in an idea. And that is achieved through repeated, consistent effort. You live your act. Really, you're not astounded by the fact that a disappeared object comes back. That's not what gets you. You're not convinced of the object's supernatural qualities because it came back. You're convinced of the greatest beyond it stands for. You're convinced of the idea of what that magical object is. I say that because an idea is persistent. An idea can be separated from matter. An idea can be separated from the physical world, from the limitations of the physical world. That's why an idea is infectious for that reason, because it can inhabit multiple people in different cultures and different walks of life. Your job as a living work of art, and whatever you consider that to be, is to reinforce an idea in someone and protect that idea with your life. Maintain its impossibility in the material, real world for as long as possible, so that even if there's evidence to suggest, if somebody says something about you, you're like, oh, they don't really do that, somebody still believes it anyway, for the simple fact of believing in it. I mean, in Subbotsky's essay, he even talks about how men who worked in factories remained superstitious. Grown adults believe in the supernatural if it means their future or their good fortune will be affected. And this is even after having a bias of science and logic imparted on them by society. They still had superstitious tendencies. They still, like, if somebody said, like, oh, don't touch that, or like, you'll have bad luck for a year, people still didn't touch the thing. Like, they still didn't do it. Magic and belief are extremely difficult to get rid of in a person. It's the human's weak spot, it's their blind spot, and cultural conditioning just can't seem to reach it. Like I said earlier, the prestige is about closure in belief, in faith. You, as a living work of art, allow people to enjoy their belief in the unknown. You reinforce their belief in what they cannot understand or explain. So if you want to be a living work of art, you got to live it. Whatever your idea is in this world, whatever performance you're going to do, you need to take it seriously. And if you're to take it seriously, all of this is impossible. Everything that I just told you, this whole philosophy of this whole thing, it's a waste of your time and it's prone to disintegration if you yourself don't believe. You need to be the first believer. You need to be the one to change your own reality first. You make the turn. You're the one that takes the ordinary thing and makes it extraordinary. They say, be the change you want to see in the world. Do you think I would be anywhere in my life if I didn't believe that beauty was like the most important thing? Everything, that belief infects everything that I do. It's almost like when you believe in this kind of thing, you don't have a choice. Your life is that act because there is no other way of living. If you believe in this idea, you will become it. I really believe that. You are a violation. You are an exception to the rule. You have to act that way. You have to do the things that people think are impossible, things that other people would be uncomfortable with doing. You have to set the rules, the tone. All of that is you. It's your choice, your individual choice, and you have to be the person to believe in the lie, in the illusion over everything. Even if it isn't real, like I said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the magic is a trick. It doesn't matter if it's an illusion, if it's a lie. I truly believe that even something that isn't true, it still affects you in how you act. It does manifest. A thing that isn't real still manifests in the real world somehow. Be a living work of art. You need to be like a magician. If you are a magician, that means you're a violation to the rule. You're a violation to the laws of nature. You're a violation to society. You're doing your devotion to your illusion, I think, is something that gives you integrity, even if it is a lie, because of your devotion to it, because of your persistence, because to keep something up, to keep up an appearance, to keep up an idea, it's hard. I think the truth can be easier sometimes because at least you don't have to, it just is what it is, right? But it doesn't make that any less grueling. I think dedicating your life to being an idea, to being a work of art, to living some crazy life, to inspire other people. I think that's a virtuous way to live. I think that's a noble way to live. And people need it. People need to see you. People need to see you doing those things. They need to be brought into the realm of possibilities. That's all I have to say this week. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. leave your thoughts below. As usual, please don't forget to like and subscribe if this is your first video you've ever seen from me, or if maybe this is, I don't know, you've watched a couple and you haven't subscribed yet. Maybe this is the one where you subscribe. All right. Have a great rest of your weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.